Welcome to the Punk Monk Z Show, which will start in a few minutes. So make yourself comfortable, get some tea, turn some music on, chill out, and let's have a good time. Welcome to the stream. Today's topic is can you solve without calculating? And there are such situations, and we're going to start to looking at some of these. So this will be part one, and I'll probably do part two. So maybe we'll take a look at maybe 10 different types. And so if you get a position in one of these types, you know what to do. All right then, let's start. Let's start. So we're going to look at shortcut to calculation. We're going to look at the rule of the square. And then we're going to look at counting moves or counting squares. And then we're going to look at the diagonal, a pathway towards two aims. And then we'll look at geometry of pass rook pawns. And all these types have something that's similar between them. Okay, that calculation is not really needed or drastically reduced. Okay, so let's start. Rule of the square. Let's take a look at the rule of the square. What is the rule of the square? Alright, so we're going to start with this position, and the pawn is going up the board, and it's going to be a race between the king, right? Try to catch the pawn, and the pawn trying to promote. Okay. All right. And there's such a thing called rule of the square. And basically, when you draw the square, you get it. You're given information. Okay, whether your king, the defending king, can catch the pawn or not. Okay. So which unit is faster? Is the black king faster, or is the passed pawn faster? Okay, and the rule of the square is going to tell you what the result is, who's going to be victorious. Okay, and the way, so we need to draw a square, and a square has a diagonal, the diagonal of the square, and when the pawn has moved, the first corner of the square is the location of the pawn, and that's going to be h3. So what we do is we draw a diagonal, and that's the diagonal of the square. Okay, the diagonal of the square. And of course, the square has corners. And where are the corners? Well, this must be the first corner, the second corner, and we need two more corners. Okay, so this is the promotion square, right? All right, and we'll now draw the second diagonal from the promotion square, and all of a sudden, the second this is the third corner, okay, of the square, and we draw a diagonal from that square, and all of a sudden we have four corners. Okay, and when we connect those corners, we get the square. All right, so that's how the square is discovered, by using geometry. All right, so let me recap this again. Okay, the pawn is going up the board, so that is the first corner. You draw a diagonal of the square. Here it is, second corner. Okay, this is the promotion corner, right? And then you can draw another diagonal from the promotion corner all the way up towards the black king, and then you connect the dots, and that's a square. So what does this mean? It means, if this is the square, what this means is, if the black king enters the square, he will catch the pawn, and therefore the result is a draw. Okay, but again, this is the square. But if it's white to move, and with white on the move, and the black king's outside the square, the pawn is going to promote, and white is going to win. All right, so that's the deal. All right, so in this situation, okay, let's say in this situation, let's say it's white to move, and notice that the black king's outside the square, and therefore, what does that mean? That means the pawn is going to win, and the pawn advances, and the king tries to get to it, and it will be too late. Okay, so that's the rule of the square. All right, and what's interesting about all of this is you didn't have to calculate anything, you didn't have to count anything. Okay, it was a just visual impression that you make by using geometry. Okay, by drawing a diagonal from the pawn. Okay, drawing a diagonal toward the black king. And there you go, we have two reference points, and then we need two more, and the promotion square is where the pawn is going to promote, and we can draw another diagonal from there towards the king, and now we have the square, four corners. Now the only question is, okay, if it's black, the only question is what is the result? If it's black to play, it's a draw. Why? Because black is able to enter the square, and therefore draw. Okay, if it's white to win, the king is outside the square, right? And therefore the pawn is going to run, and it's going to be faster, and the pawn is going to win. It's going to promote to a queen. And that's it. Let's move on. All right. Let's take a look at this position a little bit, and we'll chat about this position. But before I do, let's get familiar with this position a little bit, and then we'll go from there. How's that? So, in this position, the H pawn is still in its initial position. The pawn hasn't moved. Okay, that's very significant. And so what we need to do is draw the square and then ask whose move it is. Okay, and then we can decide what the result is going to be. Okay, whether the king is inside or outside the square. All right. Now, if the pawn hasn't moved, it means the pawn can advance like two squares ahead, and then from then it's going to take one square at a time to make progress, and that's going to be what, 4 moves and 1 move, and that's going to be 5 moves. So in 5 moves, the pawn, the H pawn can promote in 5 moves. Okay, and if the pawn was on H3, for example, okay, it will also take 5 moves to promote. Okay, 1 move, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so the H2 pawn or even the H3 pawn will take the same number of moves to promote, 5 moves. Okay, and the reason the rule of the square works is because the pawn and the opposing king can run at the same rate of speed. Okay, 1 square at a time. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, that each unit can do that. Okay, there should not be a mismatch, because there's a mismatch if the pawn advances 2 squares and the king can only move 1 square at a time. That's a mismatch, and the rule of the square will collapse. So what we need to have is a correlation between the rate of the pawn moving and the rate of the king moving. They have to be moving at the same rate of speed, 1 square at a time. Okay, so we notice that the H2 pawn and the H3 pawn, okay, can reach the promotion square in 5 moves. And since the king and pawn have to travel the same rate of speed, the first corner is right here, H3. So the second corner will be here, or the diagonal of the square, I should say, will be here. Okay, and this is the promotion square, and we move now toward the king, and this is the position. Okay, so this is the square of the pawn, right? You see that? And so that's a slight adjustment. Okay, if the pawn hasn't moved. But if the pawn has moved, then the first corner is always the corner where the pawn stands. But if the pawn has not moved, the first corner is always the square in front of the pawn. Okay, so in this position, let me recap again. This is corner 1, this is corner 2, this is the diagonal of the square. Okay, this is the promotion square, and from there we can draw another diagonal, and we have this position, and there's the square. Now, if it's black to play, black can move inside the square, either here or here or here, producing a draw. Okay, but if it's white to move, then white is going to win, because to start with, the black king is outside the square. So if it's white to play, so right now the king is outside. If it's white to play, for example, white will win, because there's no way to catch the pawn. And let's just run down and see, and you probably will see what I said. And it seems like the king is not able to stop the promotion. And now let's go back, and let's go to the next position. Alright, so this is the next position, and we're dealing with the rule of the square, and what's going on. Okay, so even before looking whose move it is, let's draw the square and see what's going on. Okay, the pawn has moved. It's on H3, right? So it has moved. So our first corner is the corner of the pawn, where the pawn stands. All right, and we go on a diagonal, and here's the diagonal. So now we have two squares, okay, or 2 corners of the square. This is the promotion square here, right? And then we draw a line from there to here, and now we have the square. Okay, so here's the square, and let me do it again. Diagonal of the square, promotion square, and the 4th corner. All right, so here's the square. Now, what's the result? What is the result? So right now, the king seems to be inside the square, correct? And let's just draw it quickly and make sure that's the case. All right, so the king is inside the square, because this is the square, and the black king is inside the square. So it seems to me that the king is inside the square. But there's a little problem, and the problem is that black has a f6 pawn, and this f6 pawn is an obstacle for the blocking to stop the pawn from promoting. Okay, and this obstacle here is going to kick the king outside the square. All right, so if we're going to make some moves, okay, it would seem that black is into the square, but if it's white to play, okay, there's no way he's gonna catch the pawn, because he needs to now step here to catch the pawn, and when the pawn advances he needs to step here and he can stop the pawn from promoting. But because the obstacle, he has to go around and there's no way to catch the pawn. Okay, and that's promotion. So this is an exception to the rule, so to speak. So you have to look at obstacle and make adjustments. Okay, make adjustment to the rule of the square. So basically we said three things so far. Number one, I said that I showed you how to draw the square, and to draw the square is you start with the location of the pawn and drawing the first corner from where the pawn stands. Okay, for that to be true, the pawn has to have moved and is not in initial position. Okay, therefore the correlation between the king and the pawn, the rate of moving will be the same. Okay, and but if the pawn hasn't moved, then to get the correlation between the pawn and the king, the first corner of the pawn has to be, in a case of a pawn not being moved, has to be the square in front of the pawn, and that will set up the correlation between the pawn and the king, so they both can travel the same rate of speed. Okay, so that's the adjustment to the rule of the square. And another adjustment is obstacles. Even if the king is inside the square, there could be an obstacle that will kick the king outside the square, and that's what we see in these three positions. Okay, and let's move on and see what else we can do here. And yeah, let's go again to the next position and let's see what we can find here. Alright, so let's take a look at this position and let's see what this is about. Okay, so black is going down. Okay, I don't have a black king because it wasn't necessary to put it there. It's not part of the problem, and basically is that the pawn is going to promote in two moves. Okay, and the question is, can the king take the pawn and come back to stop the pawn from promoting? Okay, so according to our rule, okay, we have to draw the square. And we'll start with, for example, corner 1, go on a diagonal, corner 2, corner 3 is the promotion square, and we go back and create another diagonal to here. And basically this is the square right here. Okay, these four blue spots, that's the square. Okay, so if black is going to take the pawn, black king, white king will be outside the square, and therefore this pawn is going to promote and cannot be stopped. Okay, so the rule of square is very functional. It's very useful to know, and it's a shortcut to calculation. Okay, just look at the geometrical pattern and that will tell you what the result is going to be, just on visual inspection. Pretty easy, no? Alright then, let's move on to the next one and let's see what we find there. Alright, let's see, two connected pass pawns is the next one, and see what's going on here. What am I trying to say here? I don't know yet, but let's look at it. So these are two connected pass pawns, and what am I trying to show you here? That you need to calculate, because basically two connected pass pawns are self-supporting. Okay, and what does that mean? Okay, so the rule of the square says what? Here's the advanced pawn. We draw a diagonal of the square, which will be here, right? This is the promotion square, and we draw now a line toward the king. And now these are the four squares which make four squares which make up the square itself, the four corners which make up the square. So now if the black king eats this pawn right here, that will put the black king outside the square, and therefore this pawn here cannot be stopped. It's going to promote. Okay, and therefore what I said earlier, that two connected pass pawns are self-supporting and they're protecting each other, and this will be a win. This is a pattern. You don't need to calculate anything, you just know that's what happens. Okay, and there you go. Does anybody have any questions here? If you do, let me take a look. And no questions. If you have any questions, put the questions in the chat and I will address it. Alright then, let's move on. And what is this about? I have no clue, but let's look at it. I'm not sure why I put this here. I have no clue. Um, is the pawn going this way or this way? Or is the king going this way? I have no clue. Okay, so what's the point of this? What is the point of this? Okay, I guess this is the point. Okay, let's say the pawn is going down. Going down. The king, white is going up the board, black is going down the board. And if we're going to use the rule of square, let's draw the square based on the pawn. And the pawn has moved. Initially started here, right? It has moved, therefore the first corner is right here. And let me make it in blue. And we go diagonally from there to draw the diagonal of the square. And we have here, this is the promotion square, and move all the way up from the promotion square to meet the first corner, which will be here. Okay, so right now if you look at this position, if you look at the four blue points, four corners, that will be the square. And if you notice, the king is inside the square. Okay, now so what does that mean? If it's white to play, white is going to pick up the pawn in two moves, 1 and 2, right? Okay, and if it's black to play, white is going to pick up the pawn anyway because it's inside the square. So if it's black to play, he'll move here and he'll move here. And when the pawn moves again, the king will capture the pawn. Okay, because the king is inside the square. All right. So the pawn is here, first corner. You go on a diagonal of the square. Second corner. Promotion is the third corner, and then you go up to meet the first corner. Okay, and there you go. And those are the four corners. Okay, pretty simple, no? All right then, let me see what's next. Split pawns. Let's take a look at split pawns. And before I move, take a look at this position. Then we'll chat a little bit if we can, if there's anybody to chat with. And if you want to chat again, do chat, and we'll make the whole thing more interesting and fun. Or you can just watch. Anyway, here's the position, and yeah, so what's going on? Okay, now I talked about two connected passed pawns earlier, and I said that those two pawns, when they're connected and passed, they are self-supporting and they protect each other. Okay, it is also true when we have split pawns, okay, and they're separated by one file, they're also self-supporting. Okay, that means both pawns, when they're split, they're both passed and they're split. Okay, they're immune from capture. And why is that? Okay, because the rule of the square changes. For example, when the king advances to eat the pawn, right? Okay, what's going to happen? The other pawn is going to advance. And now let's draw the square for the advanced pawn. Here's the corner 1. Let me do it in blue. This is corner 2, right? This is a promotion square, right? And we come up to make a complete square. So if the king eats the pawn here, okay, the black king will be outside the square, and therefore this pawn is going to win. You see that? And I didn't have to calculate, do this, it does that, I do that, blah, 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 blah. I didn't have to do any of that. Okay, I'm just looking at the geometry of the position, okay, by drawing the square. And it's easy to draw the square. It's easy to draw the square. Why is it easy to draw the square? It's very simple. If the pawn has moved, the first corner is the position of the pawn. The second corner, you can draw a diagonal, and that's the diagonal of the square. All right. Then you have the promotion square. Now you have three corners. Now you need a fourth corner. Where can it be? And here it is. Okay, and that's it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And what this says is that this pawn right here is protecting this pawn right there. How so? Because it can be taken. Because the king will be outside the square and this pawn is going to run through, make a queen. And that's it. The rule of the square. And this now, and we talked about and I illustrated application of rule of the square in terms of connected passed pawns and split pawns. All right, that was pretty easy, and let's move on. And what do we have here? All right, let's take a look. All right. So this is the position, and take a look at it. Gary MC Squares, how you doing, buddy? What's new? How you doing? You came at a very good time. I'm glad you showed up. Now I can chat with somebody. Okay, otherwise I have to go do the whole thing by myself. But now you can help me. Uh, and this way I don't have to talk to myself. And yada, yada, yada. So welcome to the show. And our topic today is what? Our topic is that calculation is a very important skill to have in chess, and maybe, and just maybe, is one of the most important skills. Okay, and calculation. And the other one, I think, it's evaluation, evaluating a position, and then calculation is. Those are the top two, I think, okay, in terms of skillage. And yeah, so what am I talking about? Yeah, so what I'm talking about is are there situations where there's a better way to solve a position than calculating? And the answer is yes. And today's part one of doing shortcuts in calculation, and I'm trying to demonstrate that there are situations where it is quicker and more efficient, okay, to find a solution without calculating, by knowing certain patterns and certain methods. And that's what I'm doing today. And hopefully I will do another segment, another part two, of the same theme. And so I think it's important. It's an important knowledge to know, and you should go over it and make it your knowledge. Anyway, so here we are. White is going up the board, black is going down the board, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, what's going on? And where do we start? Where do we start? Okay, well, Gary, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Let's say if it's white to play here, if it's white to play, what would you play? And what is the result? Okay, if you had this position, what would you do? Okay, so I'll give you 20 seconds, yada yada, and see if you can deliver some kind of answer. Yeah, it doesn't have to be correct. And but if it's correct, it's great. And if it's not correct, that's great too. Anyway, so what do you think, Gary? Any thoughts? All right, let me take over, if you don't mind. All right, so this is the position. Here's the position. And what do we do? What do we do? So if you look at this position, okay, the pawn has moved already. It's not in the initial position. Okay, so the first corner will be the square of the pawn, and this is the diagonal of the square, right? This is the promotion square, and then we go up to make a square, and basically these 4 points is the square of the a6 pawn. Okay, and notice something here. Okay, notice something here. The white king is inside the square. Inside the square. You see that? So this pawn is not a danger. This pawn is not a danger to the white king because the king is inside the square of this pawn. All right. Now it all depends now whose move it is. Whose move it is. Okay. Whose move it is. And that's what we need to figure out. Okay. So if it's white to play, if it's black to play, black is going to advance the pawn, and now here's the square, here's the pawn, here's the diagonal of the square, here's the promotion square, and here's the fourth corner. Okay, so right now the white king is outside the square and the pawn is going to win, right? So now what has to happen, the king has to now step inside the square, either here or here. Okay, so to stop promotion, right? And let's say he does that. Okay, and now he's inside the square. Notice? Yes. All right. So, but now by advancing the pawn, the square of the pawn changes. Now it's here, right? This is now where the square is. Okay, and now we have to now stop the pawn, and we go here. We're inside the square. Now, what happens now? Now, if king goes here, if king goes here, okay, what's the result? What is the result? Okay, here's the question. What is the result? So look at this position. Look at this position and give me some ideas. So here's the position, and it is white to play. What do you do here? What do you do here? Okay, what do you do? I mean, the square of the a4 pawn is here, promotion, and the fourth corner. So it will seem that the white king is inside the square, and therefore the white king is safe from losing. And what about the black king? What about the black king? Is the black king inside the square of the h2 pawn? Okay, now this pawn has never moved. Okay, this pawn has never moved, so this pawn can advance 2 squares at a time if it wants to. Okay, so now is black gonna try to pick up the pawn this way, or is it going to try to go here and then try to pick up the pawn? I mean, those are two basic questions. Okay, now we know the white king is all set. Okay, he's immune from losing. He's inside the square, and if we draw the square, for example, for the h2 pawn, we can start here. We go here, right? All right, and this is the promotion square, right? And this is the fourth corner. So this is the square right here. This is the square right here of the h2 or h3 pawn. Okay, you see right here. Okay, and the black king seems to be inside the square. So the black king should be able to pick up the pawn. Okay, and therefore it will be a draw. Okay, so my question is, should the black king try to get the pawn going to g2, or should the black king go to g4 to pick up the pawn? Okay, what do you guys think? Okay, where should the black king go? Should he go to g2 or g4? Okay, so it is a mistake if black king goes, oh, well, okay, let's say I move here and the black king moves here. That's a mistake because now I can go 2 squares and the king will never catch the pawn and white is going to win, right? Okay, so the correct move then is to pick up the pawn by going in front of the pawn here, and then when I go toward the pawn, then you can go here, and then after this you can pick up the pawn and it'll be a draw. Okay, so that's the way it should work. Okay, you see that, guys? All right, let us move on. Let me see what else is here. All right. Now we have the same position as before, but something has changed. Okay, in the last position it was black to play, and we did that exercise. But now let's say it is white to play. It is white to play. Okay, it is white to play. What is the result? Okay, now, so take a look at this position. Take a look at this position and then try to tell me what you understand about this position. It is white to play, and how should white play this? Okay, so black has a pass pawn, and you have to draw the square from the pass pawn and decide whether the white king is inside the square or not out of the square. If the white king is inside the square of the black pawn, a6, then the white king is immune from losing. Okay, but if the white king is outside the square of the a6 pawn, then if it's then that could be a problem. Okay, but let's say in this position it is white to play. It is white to play, and what should white do? Okay, I think the first thing to do if you're white is determine whether your king is safe or not. Okay, and then when you get a piece of information, then you can decide whether you can play for a win or not. Right? So how do we do this? Okay, well, let me show you how I would do it. Okay, so the pawn on a6 has moved, and therefore the first corner is the a6 corner, and then I draw a diagonal, okay, to make a diagonal of the square, and this will be the diagonal. See, this is the diagonal, right? This is the promotion square, okay? And then I can draw the second diagonal to find the fourth corner, and here it is. You see that? So what does that mean? So first corner, second corner, third corner, and fourth corner. Okay, so if you look at the white king, he's inside the square. So it is white to play, and the white king is immune from losing. He's immune from losing. Okay, so he cannot lose. So can he win? And he can win by playing h4. Okay, and now in 4 moves, he's going to promote. Okay, that's the idea. And now when the pawn advances, now the white king is outside the square, so he moves inside the square. He pushes again, and now the white king is outside the square, so he moves inside the square. And when the pawn is taken, h5 is the win, because now the black king cannot catch the pawn. Okay, and now watch this. Here's the square, so the white king, make sure he's inside the square, and now he goes for the pawn. Pawn advances, and now he's ready to promote. Okay, where's the square? Corner 1, corner 2, corner 3, corner 4. Okay, and he moves inside the square, and that's it. And now I advance and take and win. And that's how easy this is. That's how easy this is. Okay, any questions, people? Do you have any questions about this? Any questions? All right, so we saw the rule of the square and different applications and adjustments to it. And let's see what's next. Let's see what's next. All right, so let me take a look and let's move on. All right. All right, so here's the position. Here's the position. And yeah, let's take a look at it and try to figure this out. Okay, guys? All right, now look at this position. And yeah, how do we play this? How do we play this, people? How do we play this? That's the question. How do we play this? Material is even. 2 queens, 2 rooks, and 2 pawns. Queen versus queen, rook versus rook, pawn versus pawn, king versus king. Everything's the same, but the only difference is it is white to move. And is there a way to play this and win it? Okay, there's a lot of major pieces on the board. Is there a way to win this? That's the question. All right, it is white to play. It is white to play. And is there a way to win for white? That's the question. Now, so basically the attacking method is made of 3 types of moves. They're made of checks, captures, and threats. So if I want to use the attacking method here, what would my move be? Well, I mean, if I use the attacking method, my first choice will be a checking move. So let's take a look at this. So how many checking moves do I have here? Let's take a look. Okay, so I have a checking move, right? And I have a checking move. So I have 2 checking moves. All right, so now I have 2 directions that I can look into. 2 directions, okay? And which one should I play? That's the question. Okay, so let's say if I play here, this check here, he's going to take. And when I play this check here, he's going to protect the queen, right? And yeah, so what's going on? So let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at it. So rook takes b6, yum yum, checky wacky, and then after this, and the pawn will be eaten. It's a draw, right? Right? All right. So if you want to draw, you can draw it this way, right? If you want to draw, okay? And because the pawn is gone. So what we're trying to do is get into a king and pawn endgame where the defending king is outside the square. And by playing rook takes on b6, we exchange all the pieces, and also we lose the pawn, producing a draw. Alright, so we know rook takes b6 check will not work if you're playing for a win. What about queen takes f6? Okay, and the queen will take back, and then we can play check and get his queen, right? And the king is going to protect it. We're going to take here, and the black king is going to end up on that square, right? So the black king is going to end up on this square, right? And now if we draw remember, the b5 pawn is passed because we picked up b6 already. Okay, so now if we draw a diagonal from the pawn, it will be here, right? Okay, this is the promotion square, and then we'll draw a line from there here. So now the square of the pawn will be here, all the green, here and here, right? And all the pieces except the kings will be left. So the king will be here, and this king will be here. Okay, and the square will be this, and this. Okay, so that means what? What does that mean? That means if I take on f6, I'm sorry, if I take on f6 here, okay, that should produce a win because that will put the black king outside the square. And after this, check. He's holding, take, and now let's look at this position. And here's the passed pawn. Here's the diagonal of the square. Here's the promotion square, and here's the fourth corner. Okay, so right now the black king is outside the square, and it is white to play. So white is going to win. There's no way to catch the pawn. And that's that. Okay, so that's the point of this. That is the point of this exercise. Okay, and let's move on to the next one. And let's see how this looks and what this is about. And yeah, let's go back. So what did you think, Gary? What did you think of these examples? Is it interesting? All right then, let's move to this one. Look at this position. Let's look at this position. Okay, what can you tell me about this position? All right, if I trade queens, right, can my a pawn make a queen? Okay, that's the question. And this a pawn on a2 has never moved, so I'm going to draw the square for the a pawn. If the pawn has not moved, the first corner is in front of the pawn, right? So this is the first corner, right? This is the second corner, promotion square, and we come back all the way here. All the way here. Okay, so these squares here, here, and here, that is the square of the pawn. Okay, so we imagine the pawn is on a3. If it's only a3, it's going to take 5 moves to promote. If it's on a2, it's going to take 5 moves to promote because the first move is 2 squares advance. Okay, so here we are. So the question is, can we take the queen? Can we take the queen and win with the a pawn? Because the king, the black king, is told completely. Okay, it's going to take him like 2 moves to get inside the square, and he doesn't have the time. So the only thing that can stop this pawn, from queening is the bishop here. Okay, so now if I take here, and now I played this important move. Why is that an important move? Because now the bishop is caged, and the bishop cannot be used to stop the pawn. And this king is outside the square, so that's all good, right? Because the square of the a2 pawn is here, here, and here, right? All right, and the king is out. The black king is outside the square, and the bishop is not able to stop the pawn, right? Okay, and that when I do promote, I will promote with a check. Okay, so let's say he pushes the pawn, I push, pushes, push, push, and now I have to eat, which I do. He pushes, push, put, and I now, okay, now look at this. This is a defensive move. Okay, this is a defensive move. And now neither of these pawns can advance. Okay, I mean, if this advances, I can eat it, and then when this advances, I can move over to stop it. And that's also true if this pawn advances. I can eat it, and if this pawn advances, I can move over to stop it. Okay, so in this position, it's like a triangle, isn't it? Triangle. Okay, and when we have this, the defending king can stop both pawns, and the rule of the square for the a5 pawn is here. It's here, promotion square, and the fourth corner. Okay, and the black king is completely out that square. So in this position, it is white to win. Okay, and it wasn't very difficult. Okay, it wasn't very difficult to find the solution. You just understand the concept of the rule of the square, apply it correctly, and yeah, it's much superior to calculating at random. Okay, if you know what the aims are. Okay, and you know what the rule, and you know how to draw the square, and you know how to apply it. It's pretty simple. Okay, then let's take a look at the next one. And by the way, this position here is from the year 1782, Ponziani. I guess it's a composition. Okay, very nice. Here's a position by Richard Reti, a very famous position. He did this in 1921. Okay, and yeah, so what's going on here? Let's take a look. Alright, so this is the position, and white is going down the board, and white is going I'm sorry, let me start again. White is going up the board and black is going down the board, right? Alright, so this is the situation, and what do you guys think about this one? Okay, what do you think the result is? If you look at this position, what do you think? I mean, it's kind of counterintuitive, you would think, okay? And if you look at this position, I mean, the immediate response would be that black wins, right? And why is that? Because this king here can never catch the pawn, okay? He's like, he's behind, okay? And the pawn is going this way. How does it catch it? Okay? Even if it's white to move, how does it catch it? It's always behind. And if you look at the square right here, there's the square, right? Okay? The pawn has moved, so this is the first corner, diagonal of the square, right? Here's a promotion square, right? And we draw another line, diagonal of the square here. We have 4 corners, okay? And the black king is inside the square. So this pawn here is not a danger to the black king, right? But look at this pawn here, okay? Let's draw the square. Here it is, okay? Promotion square, yes. And then we move all the way up to make the 4th corner. Okay, so the square for the white pawn is this, right? Promotion square, and here, right? Okay, and if you look at the black pawn, okay, if you look at the black pawn, okay, the white king is still completely outside the square. So just looking at this geometry, you would say, well, what's going on here? Okay, I mean, the immediate response will be what? The immediate response is that black has to win and white is losing. Okay, but what's interesting about this, that white can create a double attack, okay, by traveling on the path of a diagonal. Okay, and what's going on here? By traveling the path of a diagonal, white is able to create a double threat. Okay, and what is the threat? By going a diagonal, he's either going to try to catch the pawn and eliminate pawn, producing a draw, or change direction and protect his pawn and give it the support to promote. Okay, therefore saving the game. Okay, so this is the middle path, okay, which is the diagonal, and this diagonal gives white an opportunity to try to achieve one of the two aims. Number one, stop the pawn, or give support to your own pawn. Okay, so if you cannot stop the pawn, black is going to make a queen, but that time white is able to give support to his pawn and make a queen too. So both sides are going to promote, producing a draw. Okay, if there's no mate, or if one side is not going to lose the new promotion, the new queen, then it's queen versus queen, and it's a draw. All right. So this is the concept here. Okay, the concept of a diagonal. And by trying the path of a diagonal, you're able to achieve one of the two aims, either catch the enemy pawn or give support to your own. And let's take a look. So let's say it comes up and the pawn, and now it looks like this pawn is a goner, right? So what does he do? He comes up again. Okay, he's one move short from catching the pawn, right? And the pawn advances and he comes here, and now he's now within one move of catching the pawn. And now look at this. If the pawn advances, changes direction. Pawn advances, he pushes. And if this happens, to stop the promotion, he moves up. And after he promotes. And the king is going to move. It's white to play. I mean, that's it. There's no mate, there's no losing a queen. And yeah, it's a draw. Completely amazing. Completely amazing. Okay, counterintuitive. This is our starting position. And what do you learn from here? What do you learn from here? Okay. Yeah. Appearance is deceptive, isn't it? Okay, so I think the thing to take away from here is the power of the diagonal. The power of the diagonal. You can use the power of a diagonal. Try to give yourself two aims. Either aim number one, eliminate the enemy pawn, or aim number two is support and keep your pawn safe and help it to promote safely, therefore producing a draw. Okay, that's it. That's all I have to say about this. That's all I have to say about this one. And let us move on to the next one. Okay, counting squares. This should be fun. So let me just blow this up and take it back here. And yeah, let me go to you guys, and this is our next position. This is our next position. And the question is, I mean, what do we do here? Okay, white is going up the board, black is going down the board. Okay, so what's the verdict here? Okay, so the question is, what do I do? What do I do? So I have to have an aim, number one, and number two, I need to evaluate the result of my aim. Okay, I need to evaluate it. Okay, so what is the criteria? Okay, the criteria is, I mean, if I have an aim, I need to be able to get advantage from it. Okay, so what is my aim, and do I get an advantage? Okay, how do I go about solving this? Anybody? Any thoughts? So we have some people here. Welcome all. It's good to see you all. Say hi in the chat. Don't be shy. Give it a try. Don't run away. Stay and play. Help the monk have a nice day. Yeah, baby. All right. So here's the position. How are we going to go do this? How are we going to do this? That's the question. Okay. Well, let's say I want to promote. Let's say I want to promote this pawn. I want to make it a queen, right? That means I need to eliminate this pawn, right? Okay. Now, this is about counting squares or counting moves. So now, and so basically, if I'm going out to eliminate this pawn, right, in order to promote this one, right, black will be doing the same thing. He'll be going here, eliminate the obstacle, okay, and then clearing the way, and then pushing this pawn to promotion, right? All right. Right? That's what has to happen, right? Okay, now the question is, what is, so basically we're both racing. We need to remove the obstacle. Okay. Okay, clear the way of the obstacle, clear the way, right? and then push the pawn through. And the same thing will happen for black. Black need to remove the obstacle, okay, clear the way, and push the pawn through. Okay, so now the question is, now we know what the aim is. Do we know what the result is? That's the question. Do we know what the result is? And how do we find the result? What do? Do we calculate? I do this, he does this, I do this, I do this, I do that, blah, 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 blah. I mean, how do we do this? That's the question. Okay? Do we calculate, or is there a better way to do this? That's the question. Anybody? So this is about counting squares or counting moves, okay? And all you have to know is learn to count. Excuse me. Okay, do the count, and then you're going to know the result. Okay, any thoughts, anybody? How would you do this? What is the method? What is the method of solving this? Is it calculation? Well, calculation could be a method, but is there something superior that is faster and maybe more accurate? Okay, so you don't have to memorize every move you make in your head. You don't have to keep shifting white black and try to remember, what the positions are till promotion happens. Is there a better way to do it? Is there a quicker, more efficient way of doing it? Anybody? Gary, are you there? Drunken Horse, say something. Another writer, TV viewer. No comments. Once upon a gambit, no comment. Okay, at least say hi in the chat. Can't hurt. All right. There you go, guys. Excellent. Well, thank you for putting something in the chat. Appreciate it. Okay. So you guys are right. You give me some numbers. Okay, and I think this is the correct way to solve the problem. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, we're gonna count all the squares for white. Okay, I'm going to register what the count is, and then we're going to count all the moves for black. We're going to register the count, and then we're going to go from there to see what the next step is. So let me see this. So I'm going to go, okay, hold on. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. It's going to take me 3 moves to remove the pawn. Okay. Now he's going to be promoting on a dark square, right? So when I take the pawn, I do not want to clear the G pawn by moving here, because when he promotes, the pawn's going to lose it, cannot move, because black is going to give me a check on A1. So this square here, F6, is mined. Okay, which means that it's a bad thing. Okay, so most likely it's going to take me 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to probably just move on a white square over 4. Then I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to take me 8 moves to promote, right? Okay, let's look up. So 1, 2, 3, okay, 4, right? 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yeah? You see how I did that, guys? Easy, no? Okay, 8 moves. All right. Now let's do the count for black, and we'll give it green. 1, 2. Okay, now he's going to be promoting here, right? He's going to be promoting here. So I don't, well, I can't make a mistake here. Okay, so when I go here, I can clear anywhere, I guess. Okay, so let's go 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Well, so what does this move? So what this means is what? What does this mean? It means white is going to promote his queen in 8 moves, and black is going to promote his pawn in 8 moves, right? Head, banger, chess, how do you do? Okay, so both sides going to promote in 8 moves, okay? But who's going to move first? Who's going to move first? White is going to move first, so on move number 8, number 8 will come first for white. So what does that mean? So that means what? Let me take a look. So on move number 8, this pawn is going to be a queen. So this will be move number 8. 7, 8. And now on move number 8, it's a queen. Okay, and this pawn here on move number 8, this will be 7, and this will be 8. Okay, now where would the kings be? The king will be on this square, and the other king could be maybe on the other king will be on that square. So I make a queen, and he makes a queen. It's a draw, right? Okay, so yeah, you see how we did this? Okay, there was no calculation involved. Okay, so remember, what is our subject? Our subject is that calculation is a very important skill, and maybe the most important skill in chess is evaluation and probably calculation. Those are, I think, the most important skillages. Okay, and yeah, and the subject today is: are there situations where there are superior ways of solving a problem without calculating? And the answer is yes. Okay, and today's topic is addressing that issue, and today I'm going to show you 4 different types of situations where those situations or those methods are superior to calculation. And then maybe in part 2 I will continue and show you some more. Anyway, so that's the situation. All right, so let me correct this for a second here if I can. Okay, so here we go. And yeah, so and I don't think I have any moves made. So this is the methodology. All right, so let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one, and we're going to figure this one out. Okay, so let's go here, and yeah, so this is the position. Here's the position, and what's going on. Okay, let's take a look at this position and let's get familiar with it and work it through. Okay, now white is going up the board, so what does that mean? It means that white wants to take the B pawn and make it a queen here, right? And since black is going down the board, what does it mean? Black wants to take this A pawn, the H pawn, and make it a queen here, right? So that's the basic aims. All right. So so now let's just start from there. Let's just start from there, and yeah, and tell you what, guys, I'll let you brainstorm a little bit, and then let me see what you have in the notes in the chat, and then we'll pick up and go from there. How's that? Let's do that. So that's the situation. Okay, now whose move is it here? First of all, let me think. I don't even know whose move it is. Let me see what I programmed here. Let me take a look. Did I program this first? Okay, so I did. Okay, so it's white to play in this position. It is white to play, and tell me as much as you can from this position by using counting moves or counting squares. That is the methodology. Okay, so you do the count for one side, then you do the count for the other side, then compare the numbers, then you ask the question, whose move is it? After the count's complete, that will give you some more information, and then you can visualize where things are. Okay, and then you can give me a verdict. Okay, and okay, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there for now, and go ahead. Okay, so it's white to move here. It's white to move, and yeah, what's going on? It's white to move. What's going on? What is the result? Anybody, you can talk. Feel free to talk. All right. Now, Drunken Horse says black wins. It's white to move, and you say black wins. And I think you're probably thinking the black pawn has crossed the equator. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think Drunken Horse thinks that black pawn has crossed the equator and white pawn hasn't. Based on that, he thinks that black is going to win. Okay, okay, but that's an interesting point. Okay, but maybe to counter that is that it's white to move. So basically, with white to move, he gets a pass pawn, and black still has to create a pass pawn by taking on h3. But anyway, I mean, to know really what's happening, you have to do the count, and tell me what the count says. Okay, in appearance, it looks like Drunken Horse has a point. Okay, but we won't know till we hear the numbers. Okay, how many moves does it take for white to promote? Okay, and then give me that number. The next question is, how many moves does it take for black to promote? They give me that number. Then we're going to have two reference points, and then we're going to compare the two. Okay, and we'll go from there. All right. Anybody? This is your chance to learn things, and the way to learn things is to throw yourself and try to swim if you don't know how to swim. Okay, program your mind. Okay, by attempting it, and by attempting it, you're changing the wavelengths of your mind. All right, so Headbanger says white needs 6 moves and black needs 5. Okay, so let's take a look and see if that's true. So we're going to take the pawn. That's 1. Okay, and now we need to clear the way for the B pawn. Now we know that the A pawn is going to promote here, right? So we do not want the white king to be anywhere on this diagonal, okay? Because that's going to put a break. That's going to put a break on the B pawn from advancing. Because if the A pawn gives a check on H1 in case the king is on a white square, that'll be a no-no. So basically another lesson here is how to clear the pass pawn. So by taking here, you need to clear, you get a pass pawn, but you need to clear the pass pawn by getting out of the way. Okay, and there are ways of getting out of the way. Okay, how do you get out of the way? Which way do you go in order for the pawn to go through? That's another important decision. Now we know two things. It cannot be here, it cannot be there, because this pawn here is going to promote here, and when it promotes, it's going to give a check to the king, and that's what puts a stop for the pawn to advance. Okay, and the count now is collapsing because of the check by the pawn on h1. Okay, because the pawn on b4, the b pawn will lose a turn because of the check. Okay. All right, so let's see. So now after this, I'm sorry, I want to do the count. I forgot. Let's do this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so I think Headbanger said 6. That's correct. Okay, let's go back, and now let's take a look at the count for white. Okay, for black. So 1, and now we need to clear the pawn. Okay, now this pawn here is going to promote here, so anything on this diagonal will be wrong for the pawn to clear. I mean, I think black cannot do any damage here because when he eats the pawn, I mean, he's not going to go here and block his own A pawn again. Okay, most likely he's going to come here and escort it. So yeah, so black cannot mess it up, but white can mess it up by going to the wrong color, right? Okay, so now let's see what the count for black is. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so Headbanger is right. So Headbanger says with white to move, it takes 6 moves. So let me do it in blue. It takes 6 moves for the pawn to promote, and it takes white moves for this pawn to promote. Okay, so now, okay, so let's see. So let's say, so where would the things be then? Where would the things be? Okay, where would the things be? Okay, so let's see. So So it takes black 5 moves. So let me do a count here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so when I make 5 here, black will be promoting right after with 5, right? But then I can promote again, and it's a draw, I think. Okay, it's a draw. Okay, okay, did you see that, guys? So I know the black is going to promote in 5 moves, right? So I'm going to take the lower number, make the move for white, and then make the move for black that will complete the 5th move and see where things are. So I'm going to do this. 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and 5. Okay, 5. And black pawn will be here on 5. Okay, and then it's white to move. And then white is going to make a queen. Alright, so it looks like a draw. Okay. Okay. Okay, Robbie. We need to get rid of Robbie. I think Robbie is a troublemaker. All right. Okay, any questions? All right. Okay, any comments, guys? Okay, so this looks like a draw based on our count. Okay, so I think the most important thing here is understanding the methodology, how we did this. Okay, because when you know the method, it's reproducible. And we didn't have to do any calculation. And I didn't have to go, I move here, he moves there, I move there, da da da. And then after X number of moves, 8, 5, 6 moves, I'm trying to keep everything in mind where things are. You don't need to do any of that, because there's a superior method of doing it, that's quicker and I think more accurate than calculation. It is more efficient because it uses less energy. Okay, it's more accurate too. Okay, because you have to only fix maybe you have to only fix like 4 objects. Okay, 2 kings and 2 queens, for example, instead of fixing every move along the way. Okay, and that's why it's superior. Okay, so there you go. All right, so now let's move to the next one. Okay, and yeah, so we're gonna go here again, and we're gonna do one more example, I think, of the counting method and decide how this works. Okay, guys. So let's make it here, and so let me see some people in the chat. Okay, say something in the chat, and then we'll start with this exercise. And we're going to use the counting method to find the solution. Okay, it's pretty easy. Okay, so you have to understand how it works, and then just discipline yourself to do the count for each side, then compare the two, and then you're going to have a lot of information what's going on, more than it'll be quicker, and you have more accurate information than if you were calculating, I think. All right, so there you go. Okay, any comments, guys? Can I see some comments in the chat, please? Yeah, do you have any comments? Now, we have a new position here, and we're going to use the counting method to decide what to do. Okay, and so I mean it's very simple here. It's very simple here. Basically, what White has to decide in this position whether he's going to go to remove the G pawn and try to queen his G pawn, okay, or he's going to try to whether he's going to try to pick up the B pawn and then push his B pawn down. Okay, so does white want to have pass B pawn, or does white want to have a pass G pawn? Okay, that's the question. And then so white has to decide between the two choices, number one. And number two is, what is the criteria by which he makes this choice, this direction, this path? So those are the questions. I mean, if he goes for the G pawn, right, it means that black is going to go for the B pawn, right? And if white goes for the B pawn, you know white is gonna go for the G pawn. Okay, so it becomes a race between then becomes a race between the B pawn and the G pawn. Okay, and then you have to do the count. Okay, so which count is better for white? Going for the G pawn or going for the B pawn? Okay, white is going to make the choice, and when white makes the choice, black is going to take the opposite. So now it becomes a domino effect. So white will have to make a choice. He has to make the right direction. What is the correct direction? And the only way to know it is to do the count for both the B pawn and the G pawn. All right, so if you were playing white, okay, are you going to go? Are you going to go? Are you going to try to have a pass B pawn, or are you going to try to have a pass G pawn, headbanger? Okay, so you're saying, okay, so the count is the same. Okay, okay. White goes for the G5 pawn, and black for the count is 8 to 9. So based on this, based on this, what's your first move then? Is it king to C6 or is it king to E5? Okay. Well, anyway, well, this is good. Okay, now you see you have a methodology here. You have a methodology here, a method. You didn't have to calculate anything, and you came to a solution very quickly. Okay. Now, can you just imagine if you were counting and you go for the B pawn, then you have to make all the moves to clear the way and all push the B pawn all the way down, and then you have to make the moves for black. Do the same thing on the other side. Can you just imagine how many fixed positions you have to carry in your mind? Okay, and then at the end of it, I mean, do you know where things are? Okay, it's much more complex. So this method is much more simpler. It's elegant because it's simpler. Okay, and there's less complications. Okay, so headbanger says try to get a pass G pawn that wins. That wins because if you go for the G pawn, in 8 moves your queen, and it takes black 9 moves to queen. Okay, let's take a look at it. Okay, so let's go for the B pawn. Okay, let me do the square count, or the I'm gonna do the square count or the move count. So 1, 2, 2. Now he's queening here, right? Okay, he's going. So I'm not gonna move onto square because he'll be promoting on that square, right? So when I clear when I go 1 and 2 on my third move, I will not step on the line of the enemy promotion square. That will lose a turn. Okay, so I go 1, 2, and now I can clear maybe what? Maybe here. Okay, so let me count this again. Okay, let's start again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, 7. Now let's count for black. 1, 2. Okay, now he'll be promoting here, right? So basically when I clear the way for the pawn, when black clears away for the pawn, black should not step on a square when enemy promotes on the same square to a square and go to a square to clear the way for the pawn. That's a mistake. All right. So what does this mean? So 1, 2, and maybe 3, and 4, 5, 6. What did I do wrong? I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I'll go 1, 2, and then 3, then 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So the count is 7 to 7. Okay, 7 to 7. And since white is moving first, he's going to promote first, and then black is going to promote right after. Okay, and the kings are going to be, black king will be here, and white king will be here. Okay, and so let me see what's going on. Okay, so it's 7 to 7. It's a draw. So if we go this way, it's going to be a draw. Okay, I think you're correct with that part. Okay, so now let's look at the second part. The second part is the second aim is to go for the G pawn. If I go for the G pawn, black will be going for the B pawn. Black will be going for the B pawn. Okay, so let's count. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3. Okay. And how do I clear? Well, he'll be queening on that square. So when I clear the pawn, I should stay off the white squares, right? So when I go 1, 2, 3, okay, let's say I go 4, then 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8, okay? And Headbanger was right. It takes 8 moves for white to promote. And let's go 1, 2, 3, okay, 3, and he'll be promoting here. White will be promoting there, so I don't want to step here, right? All right, so let's go again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, now so white. So let's fix everything here. We only have to fix 4 objects. Okay, so let's fix the kings. Let's fix the kings first of all. Okay. So the white king we said will be, let's say here, and the queen will be here. Okay, and black king will be here, right? And so it will take in what, 8 moves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, so this is the position. This is the position. Okay, let me just clear this pawn if I can. I mean the colors, so the yellows. Okay, so I need to get rid of this. Okay, so the king will be there, and this will be the queen, right? Sorry, this will be the queen. Okay, and that's after 8 moves. After 8 moves for black, the king will be here, and the pawn will be here. So both sides have made 8 moves. And whose move is it here? It is white to play here, right? It is white to play. Okay, it is white to play. And what does he do? Okay, so the black king is here, and the pawn is here. Okay, so we made 8 moves. We made 8 moves with the queen is here on the 8th move, and on the 8th move the pawn is here. Okay, and now what the king would like to do is move here, and then from here we'll support the promotion square and make a queen, right? Okay, so what white should do probably is to move the queen here, control the queening square, right? Control the queening square, right, by coming here, and control the queening square, and that's a win. Okay, guys. All right, so this is the position. Okay, did you see how this works, guys? Do you have any comments? Any comments? Anyone? So this is the methodology by how you can solve uh, these type of positions when it becomes a race between two sides in terms of promotion, and by using counting method. Okay, still and replacing calculation. Okay, all right then. So let's move on to the next example. Let me see what the next example is going to be, and let's go to the next page and let's see what we have. All right, so this is very simple. This is very simple, and let me just do this and take everything back, and let's look at it. Okay, so who's here besides Pepper 007? Who's here? Okay, so let me see something in the text, in the chat, and we'll start from there. Okay, so here's the position, and anyway, so this exercise here is based on the relationship of two pass pawns which happen to be rook pawns. Okay, that's the classification. Both sides of a rook pawn, they're going in different directions. Okay, and why is this a pattern that doesn't need calculation? That's my question. Why is this a pattern that does not need calculation? Okay, so let me just show you quickly what I mean. The H pawn is running this way and the A pawn is running this way. Okay, they are both rook pawns and they have something in common. And the question is, what is it that they have in common? What do they have in common? Or what is the connection? What is the relationship between the rook pawns? Why do they affect each other? Who can tell me? Well, it's very simple. Okay, when you have two rook pawns and they both pass pawns and they're racing to promotion, whichever side, yes, very good, whichever side promotes first stops the other side from promotion. Okay, so a very simple formula, a very simple formula when it comes to pass pawns. Pass pawn must be pushed. Why? You want to promote. So if you have a pass pawn, make sure your opponent doesn't. And the idea of you having a pass pawn is to promote. An idea, if your opponent has a pass pawn, make sure he doesn't promote before you. Okay, so that's a basic concept. Yes, so when you have two pass rook pawns, okay, you want to promote first and you want to make sure your opponent is stopped from promoting, and that's what we have here. So whichever side promotes first is able to control the promotion square of the other pawn. Okay, and you're right. So let's take a look at this, and this doesn't need okay, calculation. Pow. Okay, there it is. Okay, you stop the promotion, and if this happens, this happens. Okay, so it's a very simple idea. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Let's take a look at this one. I'm not sure what this one about, but okay, let's look at it. Maybe I can figure it out, maybe I can't. All right, so this is the position. This is the position, and we have to decide what's going on here. Okay, so white has a pass pawn, rook pawn, and black has a rook pawn. Okay, so in this position, it is black to move first. Okay, and the question is, what is the result? That's the first question. It's black to play, and what is the result? All right, let's take a look. Okay, so I think it helps to know the rule of the square here, and the pawn on a7 hasn't moved. So a7 pawn is going to take him one move, two moves, three moves, four, and five moves. It's going to take him five moves to promote. Okay. If the pawn was on a6, it will take him also five moves to promote. One, two, three, four, and five. Okay. So the pawn on a7 or the pawn on a6 both take five moves. And since we have to have the correct coordination between the pawn and the opposing king, okay, the speed of each unit has to be one square at a time. The first corner is going to be this, and we have to draw the diagonal of the square, which is this. Okay, and now we have two reference points: the diagonal of the square, okay, promotion square, and now we can find the last corner, the fourth corner. Okay, so right now, if you look at this position, it is black to play. It's black to play, and the white king is outside the square. Okay, so it's black to play, and white king is out of the square. So it seems like white is going to lose. Now, if white plays here, white is winning. Okay, and if I follow here, okay, so white king is outside the square, and black is going to promote first. So the result is black is going to win, it seems. Right? Seems. Or does it? Alright, let's take a look. There you go. Okay. Alright, and that's the way this works. Okay. Yeah, that was simple. And let's see what's next here. Alright. So look at this. I don't know what this is about, but let's look at it. What's going on here? This is crazy. Where do I find positions like this? Alright, let's look at this. Alright, so it's black to play again, and black is going down the board. Okay, and let's draw the rule, the line, the diagonal, what do you call it? Diagonal of the square is this, right? Promotion is this, and the fourth corner is there. Okay, so so right now, let's make it. Okay, yeah, let's do this in green. So basically, this is the square, and yeah, we have this position, right? So what's going on here? That's the question. What's going on here? So if it's white to play, oh wait a minute, what am I doing? Wait a minute. Well, excuse me, there's something wrong here. I just noticed. Wait a minute, the white king is inside the square. So if it's black to play and the white king is inside the square, so black is immune from losing. Right? Am I right? And now, so let me draw a square for the h2 pawn. So the h2 pawn, this is the diagonal of the square, right? This is the promotion square. Okay, we come here to meet, and this is basically the square of the h2 pawn, or more accurately, the h3 pawn. In both cases, it takes five moves to promote, whether it's h2 or h3. Okay, but we have to synchronize the speed of the pawn and king, opposing king. So this is the first corner then. Okay, I will synchronize it. All right, so there you go. So in this position, if it's black to play, white wins. Why? Because white is inside the square, and the black king is outside the square, and that's it. We can go from there. So in this position, white wins, and let's try it out. And there you go. Okay, so, and that was pretty quick. Okay, there was no lengthy calculations, just some observations and applying the method. Okay, let's see what we have left over. And I think we're coming to an end, so I'm glad that it's the end. Okay, we can look at this one, but I won't. And what's this about? All right, let's look at it. Okay, so here's the position. All right. All right. So the pawn is going this way, but his own king is blocking the pawn, right? So I'm gonna use the count method, right? Okay, wait a minute. So okay, well, I mean these are both rook pawns also, so I don't know if I need to use the count method. They're both rook pawns. So which pawn can advance faster? That's the question. Okay, so if I come here, he's going to take. And the white king is inside the diagonal of the square. Okay. All right. So let me see if I have this in here. Okay. But another thing we can look at is if the knight goes here, forcing the king to block, that's going to stop the h3 pawn from being pushed. And what does that mean? That means black pawn is able to queen first, right? Is that right? All right, let's take a look. Is that right? So after this, he takes, and we go here, and we didn't come here, did we? Because and I don't know why not here? That will work. Okay, and now he clears the way, right? And we reach the equator first, and that means what? It means that the black pawn will promote first, right? And we can just do the race, and that's it. And we can just blockade and then pick up the pawn because of Zugzwang, and then it's going to be king and queen versus king, and that's that. um, so what happened here? So by playing this blockading move, okay, you enable black, okay, to by sacking a piece, okay, to queen quicker, okay. um, yeah, and that's what happened. Okay, good. All right, let's see what's next. And that's it. That's it. So let me go back to to um, to our stream here, to our viewers. Thank you for joining me today. It's been fun. I'm glad I did this. I completed something, which is always a good thing. And today we did. Okay, very good. Thank you for following uh, Bon Jovi. Thank you for following. Um, yeah, so today we did four things, and our subject today was what? Our subject today was are there better ways? Are there quicker ways? Are there more efficient ways to solve things by bypassing calculation? And so I showed for like at least like four different types of positions where calculation is not the best way to do it. It's not the most efficient in terms of energy, okay, or efficiency in terms of accuracy. I think, okay, it takes more energy, okay, to do a calculation than to do it according to this methodology. And we did about four so examples, the four different types. Part two, in shortcut to calculation, I will cover maybe at least four more different types. And so when you play chess and the position falls into one of these types, then you don't have to calculate, and you're going to find a superior way to solve the problem instead of calculation. But of course, calculation is a very core skill of playing chess. Okay, and but there are situations where calculation is not the best way of doing things. There are more efficient ways. It doesn't mean that calculation cannot solve the problem. It just means that if you do not calculate and do some other methodology, okay, it's going to be superior because it's less energy draining, and therefore it must be more accurate too, okay, because it takes less time to figure it out, okay. And also calculation takes a lot of energy, for example changing positions in your mind for both sides, Okay, and if you have four objects on the board, then you have to fix every movement by all these four objects. Okay, till the end. That's a lot of different type of positions you have to keep in mind. But if you just bypass the middle part, you start with the beginning, you look at the end, you do the count, okay, and then you just shift the four objects in the ending positions based on the count. Wow, okay, I only have to have fix like four objects to know what's going on instead of fixing maybe, I don't know, let's say if it takes eight moves and takes eight moves on one side, takes moves eight moves for that side. That's about 16 different positions I have to keep in mind. So which is more efficient, which is more accurate, okay, which is more desirable? Okay, it seems to me the methodology that doesn't include calculation, I think is superior in those instances, and that's what I'm promoting here. So stay tuned with part two. I'll do that at some point soon, hopefully, when I put it together, and we'll take a look. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you guys later. And tomorrow is Wednesday, so tomorrow is chat and play. So if you can see me tomorrow, and I'll be just chatting and playing, and you guys can challenge me, and we'll go from there. And then Monday and Fridays is the time I kind of create instructional stuff. And so thank you for following me. If this is your first time, make sure you follow me. And if you like the channel and the content, don't forget to subscribe. And also I'm on YouTube. You can find me under Punk Monk Z. And thank you. See you guys later. And good night. Bye bye.